Good morning. So as you can see, I'm just about to start clearing more of this area here where the paving is going to be going. I will be digging down in several areas, 5 areas, where the oak posts are going for the pergola. I'm going to be digging out sort of a 600 by 600 section, fill that with concrete. That gives a good base for the Staddle stones to sit secure to, and then the oak post can be sat on them, so that's not going to be moving anywhere. And the rest we've brought up to a level with 150 mil of MOT type 1, and then there'll be a 50 mil bed of mortar, and then the 22 mil paver. So that's where we are now. I've got some pegs in indicating my level, and that's just running across there. So that is my depth there for the sub base. But obviously, like I say, there's going to be 5 pockets dug out where some concrete pads are going to be sunk a bit deeper for the post to go on. So once again, that's going to be the shape of the pergola, where I've got those slightly larger circles painted on. That's what I'm going to dig out for the concrete pads. That's where the posts are going to come up to support it all. So those are the 5 holes I've dug. All I've got to do now, mix up a couple of barrows of concrete, get those filled in. That's the 5 pads in. I'm going to leave them to set overnight, and then we can continue getting some MOT built in here for getting the Staddle stones in and getting them levelled off and sat. That's all for now. So today I'm going to be building up the sub base, which is going to be where the paved area is going to be going, and also where the Staddle stones for the pergola, the oaks timbers, are going to be sitting as well. So it's a bit of a 2-in-1 job. So you're going to see the sub base all going down. As you already saw, I put those concrete pads down where the main posts are going to be for the supports. They went in a few days ago. They're all nicely dried. So I'm going to start building up the MOT type 1 around those now and get these up to level. So as you've seen on the time lapse, I've been loading this new battery of MOT type 1 in, and I've got that to level. You can see I've got my string lines across. I've taken my reading from these pegs. 70 mil below that. That allows me for a 50 mil bed, 20 mil paver, and allows for the full coming this way down to where the new lawn will be. So that's that done. So I'm going to clear away all my string lines, get the levels away, and the next thing is to get these Staddle stones concreted in at the correct heights, ready for the oak timber pergola be mounted on them. So before I fit these Staddle stones, some of you might not even know what a Staddle stone is. So this particular one is made from sandstone, and it's got a stainless steel pin in the middle. So basically my timber will sit on top of here, my oak timber, which is 125 mil square. This is 125 mil here, going out to 150 taper at the bottom. This is going to be sat in, concreted on these pads, and obviously it's key that these are all square to each other. So I'll be running a line along the edges, getting these all nice, and then my timbers will have a hole, 16 mil hole drilled in the bottom. They will sit on there, and then they will be secured together. So let's get these concreted in place. So as you can see, that is the first Staddle stone in, levelled all round, compacted in, and this is probably the most important one to get right, because this one, if it's not square to the wall, everything's going to be worked off of this one, so it's going to set the whole frame up wrong, or out of square should I say. So I'm going to let that one settle for a bit before I disturb it by putting any levels on it. The other thing I forgot to mention on the video I did a short while ago, talking about the Staddle stones, is the whole point of them is so the timber doesn't sit in the ground. It keeps it off the floor, so when the rain hits the timber, it runs down that taper onto the stone paving and then runs away with the fall into the gravel or the soil. So yeah, it's just to preserve the life of the timber as long as we can. There's the second one in. That's been sat in line with that one along that edge there, and also had a level across the tops to make sure we're sitting nice and plumb. So that's the first two. Waiting for this one here now. Continue the angle across there. So just setting this fourth one now. Third one went in nice and easy, and just using my square here just so I can follow the angle of this one here. That's going to bring me my straight edge to this one, and it's just a case of setting the distance, which in this case is going to be 1 meter between these two here, and it's going to be 1 meter between that one and the last one there. And I will do the same thing with the square on that edge there. So that's all 5 of those in now. I'm going to leave them to set for a few days before I even think about putting the oak timbers on top of those. So for now, that is those done. Good morning. Today we're going to be starting working on these oak posts to create the pergola. These are 125mm square, so I'm going to be cutting these to length. I've got 5 of these in total for the uprights before I start worrying about the beams going across. And then we're going to be cutting a tenon on the end that's going to allow a lap joint with a mortise through 2 intersecting pieces. Sounds a bit funny at the minute, but all will become apparent. Let's see the process. So that is the first of the 5 posts cut. So as you saw, I cut the tenon in here, and where it's going to have a lap joint, where that pencil mark is there, the first post will half lap there, the other one will be here, so the piece going over the top will act as a bit of a rain cap instead of that going all the way through. So that's done. You saw me plane it with the Viking sized planer, and then here I've cut a hole to accept the 16mm steel pin that's in the Staddle stone for it to sit on. So let's do this another 4 times. All 5 posts up. We've got all the tenons up there cut, waiting to accept the mortises, which I'll cut as the next stage. And so there's going to be a half lap joint. So we've got 1 joint half there onto that one, and so forth all the way around. They're all in nice and level. As you've seen, I've used some CT1 just around the base. Any excess like I've got just there, I'm going to wait for that to dry and a Stanley knife off nice and easily, rather than trying to do it now because it just spread all over the stone and the wood. So yeah, let's get these top beams around now. So I've cut the first horizontal beam to length, and then as you can see here, I've just marked out where I'm going to be cutting the mortise to accept the tenon that's on the top already, and then this is going to be a half lap cut joint afterwards, so that sit through, and then the other piece go that way there. I'm going to use the chain mortiser to cut this now. as you've just seen, that is the first beam going across, all in with the joints cut, going through the mortise that I put in. That's been glued. I'm going to leave that tonight. So the rest of this I'm going to carry on with tomorrow. It's just going to be a case of alternating where I do those cuts, where obviously the solid part is at the bottom. Next piece is going to have solid at the top, and then I'll reverse it to solid at the bottom there, and so forth. And as you can see, it is time consuming. You need a lot of different tools, so it's not the easiest or quickest of jobs, but you take your time and then the end results will speak for themselves. So I will carry on cutting the rest of these, and the next thing you will see is this all done. So that is all the beams up. Next is to get the knee braces on, and then we'll do the rafters last. It's coming together nicely. Well, I've been lucky so far, but finally this rain had to come, and it's absolutely chucking it down. So yes, the rain really is coming down now. We've got some high winds picking up, which are going to be in for the next couple of days, so it's not the best time to be out here. I've got to crack on though. So the knee braces are on. In the end, I decided not to do any here, because that's going to be the main entrance in, if you like, and I just thought it's a little bit not obstructive, but I think it just looks a bit better not having them there. So that's solid as anything. I didn't do any of the filming yesterday. It's too windy and rainy, as you saw, so just the roof rafters to go on today. Hopefully I'll be able to get a bit of that process filmed, and then that'll be done, ready for Danish all-in. So this is the size timber I'm using for the rafters. It's 2.44 meters long, it's 250mm across, and we're 50mm deep. So before I plane it all, I'm going to get them all done in one go, get all the planing done, and I can start the cutting. I like to go over with my circular sander there, just to take off any imperfections that might sort of impact the blade on the expensive big planer that you've seen me use so often now. They've got these sticky residue bits, they sort of gum the blade up a bit. So just going over it, just all four sides, just taking the rough parts off, sort of adds a bit of longevity to the main large planer. And I give it a sand with a finer grade sandpaper after I've done the planing. So as you can hopefully see, the difference between a planed and an unplaned piece of oak timber. On the left is the one I've just done. Obviously that's the one to do. I've got another 4 to go, which I won't video. You've seen me do it once. So what you've seen me do, the benefit of having this Viking sized planer, as I call it, it's got a 312mm wide blade. This is 250mm, which means I can do that in one pass. I took 1.5mm off in that direction and another 1.5mm off in that direction, both sides. Because the timber's never going to be flat and it's going to have bevels and that, I just find going in one direction then another, it kind of evens out and it meets in the middle, takes off the peaks and troughs, shall we say. And then I took my more regular sized planer and did all the sides all the way around, and that is the finished result. As you can see, worlds apart, and that's why I do it, or why anybody does it really. So let's get the other 4 done, and then we'll get these up on the roof. So all 5 lengths of the rafter have been planed. I've just swept up all the sawdust that I created. I've got the first one on the bench here. The others are stacked on the sawhorses over by the pergola area. So we're going to get these notched and cut to length now, and we're going to see what that process looks like. So just marking up this first rafter, just telling you what I'm doing. So this is the back edge here. I've coming in 50mm. That's going to be the overhang over the back. I'm going 80mm deep, and that is a width of the rear beam. What I've also marked is the total length I'm cutting off, because I want a 200mm overhang on the front, which is around about here. So I'm cutting that off first. Once I've cut this rear on, I'm going to offer it up, and then I'll be marking the front beam, so I've got an exact measurement on that when it's in situ. Cut that out, that'll be the first one ready to fix. That's the first one ready to go, cut out and shaped. That's the first one up. All I've got to do now is repeat it another 4 times. Well, look at that, the sun is shining just as the last rafter has gone on. They're all in place now. All that's left, apart from the Danish oil coat, is to just do some chamfer detailing on these corners, just so they're not so sharp edged. But I think that's coming on really nice now. That's all the routing done on the vertical corners. So now it's just a case of giving it a few coats of Danish oil. So that is the oak pergola all done, all treated with Danish oil, all not going anywhere. That is solid as a rock. So that is it for this video. The oak pergola is all built. It's sitting there quite nicely next to the oak raised planter that I built last week that you saw in last week's video. Next week I will be paving underneath there, so stay tuned for that. Next video will be 5 PM GMT. Every Sunday I'm trying to release a video for you all to watch. So if you like how this project's going, if you want to see the end of it, don't forget, subscribe, like. Helpful to me as a business, really appreciate it. And if you'd like anything like this building in your garden, then hit me up. Go to www.vikinggardencreations.com, and my email and phone details are all on there. But for now, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week.